The following is a production of Fenix Media. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the company or its advertisers and may contain language that's unsuitable for younger listeners.
What's up, bees?
Hello.
Welcome to the Brit on Blast podcast, where we put everything and anything on blast. What's this week's roundup?
So this week we're talking about boundaries, unhealthy boundaries, healthy boundaries, identifying areas of your life that you need to establish boundaries, all the good things about boundaries. And I mean, it made us realize where we need to implement some.
Yeah, it made me realize I have no boundaries.
Zero. We just are like empaths. We're just like, tell me everything and I'm going to carry around your problems for the rest of my life.
Come on in. Come on in.
We're talking about unhitching. No, that was last week. We unhitched the trailer.
I blacked out in the last 3 episodes. I don't actually know what happened where. At one point we talked about authenticity.
Okay, but full disclosure, she wasn't blacked out.
No. I want to clarify. I was not actually blacked out.
But it's like an adrenaline rush. So sometimes, and
we've been stacking a lot
gray out. It's like a gray. It's
gray.
like a light brown out, if you will.
Color of my sweater today.
Yes. BLFT. It's looking fab.
I know. It's one of my favorite sweaters. I'm very cozy.
It's really pretty on you.
Thank you. How was your week?
This week was good. I literally had to think back on like, what did I do this week? But
did you black out?
I like hazeled out. It was a chestnut out. I got to celebrate my best friend's birthday, That's Libby, awesome. And we had a little party for her at the Bighorn, and it was so much fun. And I was thinking about it because Libby and I have been best friends since the first day of 7th grade, and there's a group of 4 of us that are best friends. And actually, one of the other girls that I'm best friends with, Lauren, she and I have been best friends since we were born because our parents were friends.
Oh, wow.
So it's really cool. But we have like this little pack, and like, out of all the friends that have come into my life, they're like my core. Whoa. And Libby has always made a big deal about her birthday. She loves to celebrate her birthday. And so we're always like, oh, Libby's birthday is coming up. We have to do something for her. And this year I just realized, like, not only does she make a big deal about her birthday, but she always makes a big deal about other people's birthday. And it's like her love language. Yeah. So we threw her this party and she was so happy and I was so happy. And it was just like the best time. And she's just like such a amazing and loving person that
she's a doll.
Yeah. She's always happy, always positive. She's just the best. So anyways, we had so much fun. Murdock's has some exciting things coming up, which I'm really excited about. Also like really nervous and like, am I cut out for this? But just taking it one day at a time, doing the next best thing.
Yep.
BLFT is about to hit the ground running. So exciting for February. And how was your week? It is your birthday?
Yeah, when this drops, it'll be my birthday.
2/2/22.
2/2/22.
Do you know that 22 is my number? So I'm so jealous of your birthday.
Honestly,
I'm so jealous that you were born that day.
I did not know it was your number. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really special. Another moment of us obviously being destined for friendship.
For Bob.
Yeah, I don't know. This birthday's hitting a little bit different this year, so it feels a little bit weird. My grandfather passed on Saturday, so 9 weeks separated from the love of his life. They were together 62 years, and then he passed on Saturday. So, we're just going through it.
Last week I talked to you on Friday, and you were like, yeah, I think because you were going to go celebrate your birthday, and you were not feeling well. So you were just like, you're like, I'm just going to stay home and like feel like, recharge. Mm-hmm. And then Saturday I got the text from you that your grandpa had passed. And I was like, holy shit, you haven't even had time to grieve your grandmother's passing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, life really likes to throw some fucking shit at me. So I don't know. My pants are so squeaky today. I don't know if you can hear that.
But they're hot. They're hot.
I literally, this morning I woke up in just such a shit place. And I woke up and MD was like, your pants. And I was like, I had to like we talk about putting like your big girl pants on. Like I had to put my bad bitch pants on because I was like, I cannot fucking handle this day.
You had to fake, it's almost like fake it till you make it. Like throw some lipstick on, which you did.
Which
you
I
look
did.
gorge.
Thank you.
You pulled yourself together so nicely.
So I don't know. I don't really know. We have had like, I don't know. It's just been a weird week. I definitely will say that like I got sick for a reason last week. I got like a common cold, which is funny in these days.
You can be sick and not have COVID?
Oh my God, you won't believe it.
I didn't know that.
And it sucks just as bad as COVID, just to be clear.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stayed home for like 3 days. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to lean into this and just stay home. I stayed home. I watched like some really good shows. I like journaled. I meditated. I just spent time with myself. And then finding out about my papa on Saturday was obviously really hard, but him and I had a very different relationship. Like I'm the oldest, I'm the only girl in the family. And so he is very old fashioned and it's just we just had a very different relationship. So it is weird going into my birthday because it feels like I'm like Libby, like I love to celebrate, but it feels like a weird time to celebrate right now. And then there's like a lot of pressure of like, it feels like this is the year. Like it feels like I went through all of this like crazy shit so that this year can be great. And then the pressure of that gives me a lot of anxiety. So I'm like mourning the past, like mourning a lot actually from 31 was like, just like lost what I thought was the love of my life, like lost people, relationships. I lost a part of myself, which I think was like necessary and really good.
Like major life changes though.
Major life changes.
Like you can like try to plan out your life and see the future, but it turns out you can't.
No.
Because that doesn't work out.
No.
So maybe just like relinquishing that pressure of control, because no matter how hard you work or how hard you try to manipulate things, it's never going to work out the way you want them to. And sometimes that's for the better, because then even greater and more success and better things come into your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like, I don't know. I don't know how to feel. Like, I know I keep saying, I don't know, because that's really what I don't know about last week. I don't like, that's the question. How was last week? I don't fucking know. I'm not really sure.
Birthdays are like this time marker, and like, it's almost like this, they're just so exposing, and you have to look back over the last year and be like, did I do the best I can? And also it's like a new chapter in your, life book. And you have to be like, okay, what do I want to do this year? And it's just hard. It's hard to face sometimes.
And I have a lot of people like fucking sliding into my shit, telling me about who I am. And I'm like, I don't think that you like,
are they sliding into your DMs?
Like legitimately, I've had people slide in. Like I've had people slide into my DMs trying to tell me about my life. And I'm like, let me be real fucking clear. Who I was and who I am are not the same person. And y'all better just buckle up, because it's like, that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. And I'm going to be too loud and I'm going to be obnoxious, and like, it's going to be for the best. And hopefully I can like do things that will really make a big change in our community. And like, we can do awesome things through that. But I'm just so sick of people trying to tell me like all the things. And I know I took like a turn, but
put up some boundaries.
I'm putting up some boundaries, I think, is the full circle that we're doing. So on that note, let's fucking talk about those boundaries.
So Britt, because this is in your wheelhouse, why the Automobile Museum?
I mean, for me, it's about the cars all day long. I love cars. I like old cars, new cars, all the things. For me, the fact that they have the DeLorean here and the Batmobile in the same room is like, it makes my heart happy. So that's why for me. But I think for like someone like us, like doing things with all of our friends, like 160 of our close friends could go to the theater.
In any movie that you want. They have so many things to offer. The space camp for your kids, if you like need a little break or you want to look at the cars. Reno's just really lucky to have it. It's one of the biggest collections, I think, in the country, which is awesome.
It's so cool. And the fact that it's here in the biggest little city is like the coolest thing ever. So yeah, grab a bottle of tequila and come on into the theater.
Yes, Back to the Future.
Get all your friends, 160 of them, so the whole town of Reno.
So everyone you know.
And watch a movie.
Yep.
You can find tickets at the automuseum.org.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where you go get your tickets.
Perfect.
Fun day.
All right, so you guys know that I live for Western wear, specifically my boots and my hats. So I want to talk a little bit about a brand new brand that is new to Reno, Nevada, and is from our beautiful babe over here. So Britton, tell us what Murdock's is.
Well, first of all, hats have been one of my truest loves since I was a kid. I swear I had a hat on in every single picture as a child. And then they quickly became a BLFT signature. We couldn't find the hat that was just perfect. And so we decided to design our own. Murdock's is a family brand that started in the great state of Nevada in the 1950s. My great-grandparents started Murdock's Western wear. Fast forward 60 years, the Murdock sisters recreate this homegrown brand by curating a hat line that embodies the spirit of Nevada. We were raised in this amazing state, and we watched a Nevadan's ability to put in a hard day's work on the ranch, followed by a hard night's play at the casinos. We pulled inspiration from the everyday beauty around us, the sunsets, Lake Tahoe, the mountains, and the forest.
I'm not gonna lie, I have full body chills right now because you hit so many nails on the head just now. Like, there's nothing that screams Reno, Nevada more than family and community and a little bit of Western. So the fact that you put all of our favorite things together and then you made it all about like bringing back the roots of your family brings me so much joy. Y'all need to check out Murdock's hats. Where do you find them?
Murdock'sHatsAndApparel.com.
We love it. Go shop, y'all. All right, so we got boundaries today, and I'm pretty stoked about this because it's very relevant in my life right now. Do you want to kind of kick us off with some facts?
Yeah, we'll just get into the hardcore meat and potatoes of it all, as we like to say.
I love meat and I love potatoes.
I know. That's why we're going to the steakhouse.
Hell yeah. It's almost my birthday.
I know.
Actually, when this gets released, it will be my birthday.
Well, frick. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to future me.
Christian, where's our champagne?
I know. Yeah. Damn it, Christian. And my birthday's on 2/2/22 this year. So it's a golden birthday, technically, because I couldn't have a golden birthday on my second.
Is it on a Tuesday?
Oh, damn. Missed opportunity. It's
Right.
a Wednesday.
Okay.
All right. Boundaries.
Okay. Boundaries.
So you
I'm gonna put up a boundary right now. According to Psych Central, people view boundaries as something physical, like a wall, fence, or a line on a playing field in sports, hence out of bound. But most of the time, boundaries are as clear for everyone as like a visible line. They're not as clear for everyone as like a visible line or a fence.
Yeah.
They're invisible when it comes to the boundaries that we're going to be talking about today.
Mm-hmm.
And the boundaries that we create for ourselves is like another version of self-care, right? Setting up these walls to protect ourselves, our mental state, our physical state. So setting and maintaining healthy boundaries are essential to our well-being. And when we establish boundaries and stick to them, we can eliminate feelings of resentment, disappointment, and anger when our limits get like pushed, or we get, like our boundaries aren't in existence. Yeah. And then we're just like feeling overwhelmed, or we like anger or resentment, right? Yeah. So I really struggle with this because in the past, I didn't really communicate my boundaries, and I also like to please people. And so I would like overcommit, or I would like give too much of my time when I didn't have it. And it would just be for like, I'm kind of empathetic. Yeah. And I'm like an empath. And so I would just get taken advantage of.
Yep.
And anyways, so we're going to get into boundaries today.
I love this conversation, and I'm really excited to get into it. I've had to definitely put up some serious boundaries lately with a lot of people. I think I'm like, I don't know if I'm losing friends or losing people, but you kind of have to like put up these boundaries. And what I've been learning is you tell people exactly where you stand. And two different scenarios I've had to do that is say like, this is how I feel, and I'm not going to proceed if like this is the way that you're going to act. And I've had people show up when I've done that, and I've had people back out when I've done that. And I think that, and this is really in the last like 2-3 weeks. And I think the biggest learning here is that in both of those scenarios, I came out with more energy. And I would like to like reference back to your thing that you always say, which is battery. You only have so much battery in a day, just like your phone does. And eventually it's going to go out. It's going to be done. You're not going to have anything, and you have to refill your cup or recharge your battery. And when it comes to boundaries, what I feel that is happening for me is that I have this sense of calm now, and I have all of this other stuff flowing into my life that's like really beneficial. And my boundaries have only really been set in like I really like the most specific one that I can think of is it's been today's Tuesday. So it's been 4 days and things have just been flowing in. I'm more focused. I'm able to like really be present in things because I'm not so worried about, and to your point, we're empaths and I'm not so worried about other people's problems. Like,
right. And
I'm
like
focused on mine,
absorbing their problems, and therefore your battery energy is going to them and not to you or your business. Something that I just thought about is, I mean, it's kind of ironic that you just place this major boundary in your life, but also it's so much easier to set boundaries ahead of time than it is to go back after a long period of time and then establish a boundary.
Yeah.
I mean, not saying that you can't do it.
Yeah.
It's just harder because typically the other party is used to having some sort of expectation because you've allowed it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's something that maybe moving forward we can get better at, is like setting those boundaries ahead of time.
100%. And that's really like what I'm now. And I learned that lesson because I'm going through I'm building a new relationship with somebody. And so I'm saying like, okay, I don't like this. And that person is still showing up for me, or he's saying like, I don't like that either. Or I do want to do this, or I won't do this, or whatever it is. But with the people in my life who I've literally just been like giving them every ounce of myself, like hours a day. Now I have that time back. And that was a harder boundary to set because I did allow it for so long, and it did hurt to have to set that boundary, but I'm really proud of myself for doing it.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be
a hard thing to do. The easy thing to do is just continue on and just let your battery die out and let these people drain you. But you have to, establish these boundaries. And even if it comes after the fact, you still have to do it.
Yeah.
So you can have different forms of boundaries. For example, more rigid boundaries when it comes to certain areas of your life, like maybe at work, you have more rigid boundaries, and then looser boundaries, maybe around your family or friends.
Yeah.
But some people have rigid boundaries across the board, and like, you can probably think of these people. So tell us about rigid boundaries.
I mean, I'm looking at these and I've done every single one of these. Like the problem is that I either have in the past, I've had loose or open boundaries. And then when I don't get what I want, I become rigid. And and we've talked about avoidant personality that I have. And so, for example, keep others at a distance, seem detached, even with intimate partners. That rigid boundaries is like very specific to men in my life. I'm like, you can't come close. Like, I don't trust you. Have few close relationships, avoid close relationships. And I think that, this is a lonely place to live. Like, I feel this through and through because you're not really going to get anything by keeping everybody at a distance. You're not going to build relationships, valuable and otherwise. And on the flip side, or the adverse side of that, is loose or open boundaries. Do you want to kind of talk through some of those?
Right. So the rigid boundaries are obviously kind of putting up those like really thick, tall walls around yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe in some instances, that's a good thing.
Right. Well, and I think in that situation, the rigid boundaries, that's unfortunately what has been needed because I set such loose or open boundaries. And so now I'm like, okay, here's a fucking hard line. Like, we will not go past this. Right. I cannot have this anymore. And that puts me in a bad position and probably hurts the other person because I went from being like, whatever you need hours a day to like, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I need my day back and I cannot focus on your problems. And I have problems too, and I need somebody to hear me.
You were pushed to the limit. So loose or open boundaries, if you have these, you might get too involved with others' problems. Check. Find it difficult to say no to others' requests. Check.
Always.
Overshare personal information with others.
Cannot stop doing that.
Seek to please others for fear of rejection. I feel like I can see myself in all of these. And what's weird is like, you have these loose or open boundaries and then you get burned by them. And so then you put up rigid boundaries, but then they're like temporary because then you revert back to the loose. And so it's like this cycle where if you just have healthy boundaries, maybe, what are some things that are healthy?
So I don't actually know what this looks like, but I'm going to read this to you that we found online.
You're working towards it.
I'm working towards it.
There's healthy boundaries with a lot of things in your life.
I'm really getting a lot better at this, like truly. And I think that like and again, for fuck's sake, we're going to talk about the wolf, but I think that like those have been clearly labeled healthy boundaries that him and we tried to cross the boundaries at one point. And then we both were like, no, that's not going to work. And then we went back to like having truly healthy boundaries. My issue is that when people are not obsessed with me, I'm like, I don't understand why you don't want to talk to me all the time.
My God.
But it's not, that is not a healthy boundary, you guys. I'm joking. I hope people know I'm like halfway.
No,
joking.
I mean, I love it. I'm so here for it.
We don't want to be, there's a phrase for it when you get like, love bombed in the beginning of things.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Mariah Carey. Why are you so obsessed?
Why is Mariah Carey a theme today?
I don't know.
I love it. We can talk about that. How my boundaries started as not healthy in the 4th grade. Anyway, so healthy boundaries: share personal information appropriately, not too much or too little. Understand your personal needs and wants and know how to communicate them. That right there is like the key thing for me, because
chef's kiss.
If you do not understand yourself, how are you supposed to clearly communicate what you need to others? And that has been the shift that has happened for me. And we talked about this on the last episode with authenticity. So if you've not listened to that, go back and listen to it. But we do talk about like really understanding yourself and then going out and like full send, like be that person. Mm-hmm. And I think that you can't set like, because now that I know who I am and know what I want and I'm clear on my goals, now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, yeah, boundaries have to happen.
Yes.
Or I'm appreciating boundaries that other people set. Valuing your own opinions.
Which is hard.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I could be wrong.
You have to validate yourself.
Right. Exactly.
Like, you cannot search for outside validation. Mm-hmm. And then accept when other people tell you no. I wish like if I could have everybody take one thing away from this episode, it would be that when somebody tells you no, it's not because they hate you. Mm-hmm. It's not because they stopped loving you or liking you or anything like that. It's because they need a second. If you cannot respect that, then you are the problem.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So
it's like hard to expect to put up boundaries and have people accept them when you want them to, and then not respect that when they put up boundaries. Right.
Yep. This is like, and this podcast is like, or this episode is just like, I think so important. I think we're all like, we came into this new year being like, yeah. Like, let's go get like 100%. We're setting our intentions. We're making good habits. We're doing all of these things. And now we're talking about like, I've heard authenticity be like the top of the topic. And, you know, Britt and I started this episode thinking we were going to talk about something completely different. As we were going through it, we were like, you know what we really need to talk about right now? Boundaries and how to set them in a healthy way. Mm-hmm. And this is something that we work on all the time. So,
and boundaries come in so many different forms. Like right now we're kind of mostly talking about relationships and the people in your lives. But I mean, boundaries can be with your work, life balance. Mm-hmm. Boundaries can be with drinking or eating or working out. I mean, and we'll get into this later, but anything in excess turns to a negative. I was just going to say like balance is key. Like balance is because you're going to burn out and you can't love the same thing forever, right? It's okay to change and adapt. Like just because you believe in something in this moment doesn't mean, listen, a couple years ago, I didn't want to have kids and now I want to have kids. So it changes, like things change in your life and that's absolutely okay, but you have to understand yourself. Britton, tell us what BLFT is all about, because you know it's my favorite place to shop. The Biggest Little Fashion Truck is a family-owned and operated boutique on wheels. We got started 5 years ago because I had this deep desire to make women feel more confident. And I found out that one of the many ways you can enhance your confidence was through clothing. Hence our why, confidence through clothing.
We love some confidence in our lives.
We pride ourselves in bringing back that old school expertise in customer service by providing an experience, whether it be at our pop-up events around town.
We love the pop-up events. I'm at those with her all the time and they are fire.
Or we have a storefront, the Babe Cave. We just want each and every babe to feel better and be ready to be seen after shopping with us. Shop us online at the Babe Cave or our pop-up events at local businesses around town. We can't wait to see you. And a little something special we have for you. Use promo code BOB20 for 20% off your purchase online.
Hell yeah, I'm gonna be shopping today. I know we just talked about them with work.
Well, I mean, yeah, something to note is like your boundaries can change in different situations, in different environments, and with different people.
Right.
So like I was saying, it's totally normal to have more rigid boundaries when you're at work, maybe talking to your boss or like, you know, with people that you don't know very well. I mean, you're not going to disclose your whole life to them, right?
Right.
And so like those boundaries are good. And then when you're around your family, you probably have some different boundaries as far as like what you talk about at the dinner table, or maybe you don't.
I don't have them. That's the problem that my family wishes I would sort out. But.
No, honestly, like my sisters and I just make my dad and John so uncomfortable with our like, and it's like, John's like, I just wasn't expecting to hear that at the dinner table. And I'm like, boundaries, you guys, okay, put them up. But
we were literally talking, my uncle's in town right now, my dad's brother. My dad had to forewarn my uncle that like, I just will talk about anything and that just be prepared
he's
for
like, disclaimer, Brittany has no limits on these topics.
We'll talk. And that's a thing though, but that's the boundary for me is there is no boundary in that. That's why I'm okay with this. If sharing my experiences with people or making people laugh or whatever it is at the expense of my own experiences, if that is necessary to make people feel more comfortable with themselves and their decisions, I'm fucking down. Like, let's roll.
Right.
That's not a boundary for me. But I'm finding other boundaries where time boundaries are new to me, where I'm like, yeah, you will not take my time. Or like, yeah, we will not discuss this specific, like I had to tell a friend, like, I'm sick of talking about boys. Like, I don't give a fuck about them. I have 2 businesses. Like, and I do, like, I would love to have a partner, but I'm sick of it. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I want to talk about my business.
Well, you need to free your mind up to allow it to create space for what actually matters and what moves the ticker forward, right?
Yeah, I got bills to pay, girl.
Yeah,
we like got to focus on that shit right now. I want to talk about money mindset over here.
I was like thinking, you know, I've never actually thought about this, but like, the boundaries that I have with like my customers and clients, you know, versus the boundaries I have with like my friends. Like what you and I talk about is completely different than what I talk about at work or like in a work meeting. And so it's good. It's good to be different in the different areas of your life.
Yeah.
And also, like you were saying, if you can help someone by having looser boundaries and sharing your experiences, that's always a positive too.
Well, it's all relative. And I think it's important to understand. So there are 5 types of boundaries.
Okay.
And this is from psychcentral.com. And I'm just going to run through them and then we'll talk about them detailed, each one. So the first one is physical. The second one is sexual. I'm going to break down everybody's boundaries and make everybody real uncomfortable with that one.
Sexual boundaries?
Sexual boundaries.
Okay.
We're about to take another spaceship, a dick-shaped spaceship to the moon.
I said that one time.
And I'm never going to let you live it down. I'm just so happy like you broke that seal and I'm never going to, the floodgates are open.
I know you thought I had super rigid boundaries, but in fact, I do not at all.
In fact, well, I knew you didn't have them with me, like behind this, but I was like, oh, so we're going to like go for it. Like we're going to full send. I'm here for it. Intellectual boundaries, emotional boundaries, and financial boundaries. So do you want to describe physical and then we'll go, I'll describe sexual.
I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory, but it's just good. It's like a good exercise to just run through and be like, oh yeah. So physical boundaries, you know, refers to your personal space, your privacy, your body.
Yeah. Sexual. So these are your expectations concerning intimacy. And I think that like I've known people in life who, well, we've talked about it, like PDA. Like, I want you to be affectionate towards me, but like, don't stick your tongue down my throat in public. I'm not comfortable with that.
Right.
Intellectual. So these boundaries concern your thoughts and beliefs. So these are when these are not respected, someone dismisses another person's ideas and opinions. I think we're all experiencing that a lot right now. That one feels heavy to me as I just read that.
No, I know. The intellectual, this one really got me thinking too, because I'm like, it's okay if people don't agree with what you say, but I truly hate when I think about what I'm going to say and I say it and someone dismisses it. I mean, that's on me because I'm like, why do I care what for their approval? Like, I don't need their approval for my opinion. But even if I completely disagree with someone and I think that they are just fake news, I will still say, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that because of this, but I validate what they said. If someone dismisses what I'm saying, that is one of my pet peeves.
I think that's just disrespect though. I think and that's like the issue that we've been having as a society. And I know we got pretty heated on the last episode, but I think right now what we're experiencing is a lot of people have very polarized opinions that are very different. Obviously that's what polarized means, but
you're reiterating and I'm hanging on to every word.
Okay. Cause I just feel like what it comes down to is I don't agree with everything. Britton and I don't agree on everything.
No.
The difference is that when she shares her opinion with me, I take a moment, I take a beat and I listen to what Britton has to say. And then I think about it, like maybe it's not something that I'm immediately going to is going to have an impact on me. But don't you think that the most impactful thing we can do as a society is listen to each other and then respect what the other person says? People have different experiences than you. They're never going to have the same opinion on you. Welcome to America,
right?
You guys, we are blessed in this country to have our own opinion and be able to express it.
And while it's good to stand true to your values, it's even more important to be open to someone else's opinion and to be open to new information.
Right. Because that's the only way that's just a kind thing to do.
Okay. So intellectual boundaries. Next, emotional. So this refers to a person's feelings. You might not feel comfortable sharing your feelings about everything with your friend or partner. Instead, you prefer to share gradually over time. I think that we can all think of someone in our lives who has a really hard time opening up, right? And like maybe it takes years for them to open up. We are not those people. Hi,
hello. We just talk at you on a podcast.
Yeah. So you pretty much know everything about us.
Yeah.
But emotional boundaries are important too. And then the last one.
I mean, that's a new thing for me too. I'm not sharing as much with most people because it's just like, it's privileged information.
Well, and you're protecting yourself by not doing that.
And the people that I am financial.
This one.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. It's about money, y'all.
Money, honey. Got to get that cheddar. But you do need boundaries with that, right?
Yeah. I mean, and also how you spend it, what you're comfortable spending, all of that stuff. And I think that really comes out when you're in a relationship with somebody and you start to not share. I'll never share finances with somebody again, but like, you have to think about that. Like who's paying for what? Like I'm willing to spend this. This is something I'm comfortable spending a lot of money on. Even if you rent a home with somebody or you buy a house with somebody, like you have to think about those things.
Well, even like as a sole person, like you have to be like, you go on a trip and you blow a ton of money, then you get back, you have to reel it back in. That's a boundary, right? Yeah. Like we all have felt those, or like, you're like, wow, I've been, spending so much money on eating out. Like I'm going to reel that back in. Like we've all felt that in our lives. Those are the boundaries that you set.
Yep.
Some people have very rigid boundaries and they're cheap, but I mean, I'm thinking of someone in particular. It's so bad. Okay.
I'm not cheap. I have the opposite problem.
I'm not cheap either. In fact, I spend way too much. You can ask my financial advisor husband.
I mean, sometimes,
his middle name is Budget.
I'm just out here trying to have a good time.
He's not cheap, thank God, but Rick.
I'm just trying to have a good time. Okay.
Same.
I work hard so I can play hard.
Okay. So pretty much like, how do you apply boundaries into your life? How do you implement them, maintain them? Just a good rule of thumb across the board. And we touched on it earlier. Anything in excess is no bueno.
Yeah.
Not good.
Yeah. I think that just like a low key on this is I went out 2 weekends ago and rage caged 2 nights in a row. That was like too much. I'm getting too old for that shit. So then this next weekend, I literally hid out at my parents' house because I was like, I cannot be convinced to go out because I live in Midtown. So then people will just be like, I'm at your house.
Yeah. You're like, great.
So we're doing tequila tonight.
Yeah. You're like, so come in. I have tequila shots poured.
Yeah, so if you're in Midtown, just call me. I have tequila. No, don't do that. That's a boundary I'm setting.
But literally anything in excess is bad. Yeah. Anything. And I was like, well, I can think of a few things that wouldn't be bad, and my good friend, MD Welch, the photographer that has shot for us a couple times, we were talking about boundaries and he's the one that was like, anything in excess is negative. And I was like, I can name a few that aren't. And he asked us to picture our most perfect day. Like if we from start to finish had the best day of our lives, like what would that look like? And I said, I mean, I don't know. I was just throwing it out there, like on a beach with the people I love, like delicious, fresh, healthy, you know, food, like Mexican food, tacos, chips, salsa, guacamole, delicious cocktail. And his response was like, that sounds great. Now picture if you did that in excess. And I'm thinking like 365 days of that. He was like, you would be craving rush hour traffic. You'd be craving work. You'd be on suicide watch, essentially, is what would happen, because you can't do the same. You can't do that every single day. Right. And so then I was like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah. It's so interesting because I'm picturing my day and I'm like, I don't know that I would ever get sick of mine. I hate to break MD's belief, but mine, I would just shift what I do for a living, because mine would be like early out on the boat, wake surfing in the morning, like into the day, posting up at a beach with my friends, and then making runs out, doing like wake surfing all day long, wakeboarding all day long with my dog, and then a barbecue at the end of the night. I just don't.
But like, what if like it was too much on your body and like your legs were too tired? And
I mean, that's fair. That's
what
fine.
if you like started, you know, drinking so many ranch waters every day that then you like hated yourself because...
That's accurate. That could definitely be accurate.
Like I would eat all that food every single day and then I'd be like super...
I mean, it's true. Like I'd get sick of barbecuing. Like I would get sick of having the same food every single day.
So to his point, everything in excess is negative. I mean, and like boundaries make us appreciate things. So like if we don't work out, there's no appreciation of a rest day. If we don't eat healthy, there's no appreciation of indulging in, you know, pizza, burgers, chocolate, whatever it is for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's accurate. And that's really like without the bad, there can't be good.
Right. So without boundaries, we live life in excess and you're still not happy.
Right. Well, I think that's what it really comes down to is that think about like, we talk about this all the time. Look, I own my own business. I live on my own. I have my dog. Like you'd think that as a 32-year-old woman, I would be like, and 32 as of when this is released, FYI. Don't want to age myself too much.
2. So Britt, why intentional candles for mental health?
Because building healthy habits around your intentions can have a positive impact on not only your mental health, but your overall productivity. I wanted to create a premium non-toxic candle that reminded my customers that life is complex and we can live in the and space. Talking about mental health and mental illness doesn't always have to be scary or depressing. Sometimes it can be fun and enlightening. We are wildly unique and expansive creatures, as we've talked about on the podcast before, and we can be many things in a day. And sometimes we just need to light a candle to remind ourselves who the fuck we are and what we are capable of.
I 100% agree with that. Plus, your candles smell so good and they fill up my whole house. I hear you have something special for our listeners.
I do. I have a little promo for our bees. Y'all can head to havenandflux.com and use code BOB20 at checkout to get 20% off your order. I hope y'all enjoy. But to be clear, like, I get sick of my own self some days. Like I'm sick of my own situation some days. Like I'm sick of my business some days. Like it's the human experience to get over things, to be sick of things. And then you have to figure out a way to like pull yourself back in. But by setting boundaries, because this is what I tend to do, is get us off topic.
No, I'm with you. Like you have to have boundaries in your life or else everything is just one big free for all. Like I think of the people who live like, for back to my perfect day on the beach, like those people are usually have like horrible skin because they're so tan and they just are outside all the time, right? They usually don't have like much self-worth because they're not working towards things. So like as much as I want to sit my ass on a beach all day, every day, like it wouldn't be good.
I mean, even being like the boundaries of our work days as an entrepreneur, it's like, okay, I wake up at 5:30, I go to the gym at 7. Like I have to keep that. Otherwise, shit won't get done in my business. And the second I let that boundary go, my business starts to fail, or not fail, but it starts to like fall.
You feel it. And because we feel if like, as business owners, we sneeze and our business feels it.
Oh God.
Like I literally take an afternoon off and I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, another thing is like, it's easy to set boundaries in our mind. It's hard to maintain them. Right. And it's even harder to go back and set them after a period of time has gone by. But like, how can we maintain? How do we set and then actually maintain these boundaries?
Yeah. So we looked into some tips because we love to give you guys some tips and tricks. Into some things. There's 5 things that you can do. So the first thing is to start small. If you don't have boundaries in place, and this is what I've been doing recently, it can be abrupt or overwhelming. So you just have to implement them in like small bite-sized pieces and then increase from there. I think the very first thing that was boundaries for me was, and this was a really big one, so this probably doesn't.
But you have to identify it first.
Yeah, is like, I literally was like, with the puppy, I was like, yeah, this is done. Like, I'm not fucking doing this anymore. And then I broke down because we talked about like, you can fall back into them.
Right.
And so then
you don't maintain them.
You don't maintain them because it's hard. And I wanted him back and thought he was the man of my dreams. And oh, girls, if there's anything I can teach you, he is not the man of your dreams. And you just like move into the next thing, right? And then you fuck up and then you set another boundary and just keep them small. And eventually you'll rise up into like strong boundaries in your space that you're not willing to break down.
But if you keep them small and realistic, you're less likely to, I don't want to say like fail at them.
Yes.
And then you're more likely to keep going.
Right.
So small, realistic boundaries.
And they get easier to set.
Don't be like, I'm never, ever, ever talking to my sister again. Ever.
I just
because spoiler alert, you're going to talk to your freaking sibling again.
Yeah.
You know?
And also sometimes setting a boundary, it doesn't mean that you break up with somebody or that you end something, or it doesn't have to be that dramatic.
No.
It could literally be like, this is a pause for me right now. Mm-hmm. And when I have the mental capacity to come back to it, I'll circle back.
And yeah, right. Like I will circle back into letting you into my life in small segments.
Small segments.
Yes.
And I love this next tip is I think the most important. And this is where I am starting to do this, but I didn't always do this. So do you want to tell the people what it is?
Set them early. We talked about it. It's so much easier to start with boundaries than to implement them after some time has gone by in the relationship. By starting with clear boundaries, it can eliminate confusion and hurt feelings, right?
Yeah. Even in your own like career though, setting those boundaries, like it doesn't always have to be a relationship. And I think that's true. It's much easier in a relationship because you have another person and another person's feelings involved. But I think that when it comes to even your career.
Totally. I had to set so many boundaries with BLFT. I used to like someone would write us and be like, is the Babe Cave open? And I would be like doing something and I would like be like, yeah, can you come in 10 minutes? And I would go down there and open up. It's like, that's not okay. Like I had to create boundaries. Sundays it's a hard close.
Yep.
And it eliminates that in my mind of like, I have to be down there if someone wants to come, right?
And by you setting that clear boundary, your customers now understand what your schedule looks like so they know to plan around the fact that you're not going to be open on a Sunday. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's the big thing. That's the big takeaway here is like people in your life that care about you or that love you or that want to support you are going to support you no matter what. They just need to understand what you need from them. Mm-hmm. And if they don't understand, they're not your person. They're not your customer. Like, that's okay.
Which literally goes into the next one of communication. Yeah. Talk it out. It doesn't have to be a major thing. It's just simple. Like for someone who, I don't know, like this has happened to me. I've looked at my phone and I've had like 3 missed calls and 1 million text messages from the same person. And I'm like, it can be, I could pick up the phone and like ruin my train of thought and ruin my workflow. Or I could say, look, I see that you really, really want to get a hold of me right now. I will get back to you when I can.
Yep.
If they can't handle that, that's on them. That's nothing on you.
Someone else's emergency doesn't mean it's your emergency. And I have quite a few years of management experience. And I will tell you right now, especially if you are a manager in any management situation and you're working with people, do not answer their problem right away. unless it's something that you know for a fact they cannot do on their own, like they do not have the coaching or the experience to do it, they can literally wait. I promise you, they will probably sort it out on their own.
Yeah.
I've dealt with this in so many situations where I would wait like 5 hours to see if they could sort it out on their own. And typically people use this magical thing that's called Google and then they sort out their own problems.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I was like that is huge for me as a manager, but this was like more of a personal relationship, my example. And I don't know if you can relate to that at all, but like, and it almost makes it worse because like it was a friend.
Yeah.
And it was like, I want to be there for you, but like,
yeah, I mean, I get that.
It gets blurred. It gets gray.
Yeah.
So what's our next one?
So the next one I like a lot because it aligns with my brand a lot, but protect yours. So a lot of maintaining boundaries comes down to self-worth and your intentions. If you have poor self-talk, you are more likely to budge when it comes to boundaries you have set. Know you are worth it and in control, and protect your boundaries with confidence. That really is what it comes down to, is like, even when it comes to like setting intentions every single day, like I start in the morning, and the reason that I like to light a candle is because yesterday, for example, I lit my abundance candle, and on the candle, it says abundance is flowing to you. And as I lit it, I said that. Well, throughout the day, abundance came to me. Like literally my uncle flew into town. Like I got to spend all this amazing time with my family. But had I not set my boundaries with other people in my life earlier in that day, I wouldn't have been able to spend the time with my uncle. I wouldn't have been able to focus on my work and make sure that like I was actually driving sales so that I could spend the time intentionally with my uncle. So that's a big one. And then I think the next one is I know it's written here. Recognize others. So this is really important. Notice when someone is setting a boundary with you and respect it. We said this earlier, like
it's not about you.
It's not about you.
Yeah.
Like I literally have said that to somebody recently where I was like, it's not about you. Like this is about me. I am struggling with things right now. Like I have to set this boundary for myself. Like please be respectful of that. And like, don't make this a bigger deal than it has to be. I'm setting this boundary because I don't have the space or the time. And like, I wish that I did. And it already makes me feel guilty that I don't. So if you could just respect it, that would be so nice.
Right.
For me and for our relationship.
Sometimes I think people like come to conclusions and they judge about why you do things in your life because they don't understand it.
Yeah.
So, and as a business owner, I mean, we get this a lot, but I think anyone in any job can relate to this. No one knows what it's like to be you in your job. As business owners, like I know that sometimes it gets old when I say like, oh, I can't come. I'm working. Like I think that people don't necessarily believe me.
Right.
Or that like I have so many things to do, and they're like, well, it's good to be busy. And I'm like, no, I know it's good to be busy, but that's why I can't come hang out on Friday and Saturday nights is A, because I'm usually working, and B, because if I'm not working, I'm using that time to recharge or like take care of some other aspect in my life. Right.
Yeah.
Like I've been like, I don't know. It's hard. So respect others' boundaries. You may not understand it. You don't have to understand it. It's not about you. Respect when they say I can't make it or I can't be there.
Yeah. I mean, and it does. When people communicate with you, it's a blessing. It means they care about you. It means they're trying to work it out. And so I think that like be respectful of that.
I'm with you on that.
Okay. Well, to sum it up, anything in excess is just not great for you, generally speaking. Start small, set them early, talk it out, protect yours, and recognize others. And do you have anything else you want to add before we get the fuck out of here?
No, thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, y'all can find us per usual at Britt on Blast and at BLFT Reno and at Haven and Flux and at Murdock Hats
and apparel on Instagram.
If you guys like the show, you know the rules. Subscribe and review Britt on Blast on whatever platform you're listening on. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again. We appreciate y'all so much, and we will see you next week.
Later.